Well, good afternoon, and welcome to the Senior Hour, which is sponsored by Providence Holy Cross Medical Center and Comfort Keepers in Home Care. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host, Dr. Thomas Polucki, on your hometown station, 98.1 FM, AM 1220 KHTS. This is a show for, about, and by seniors, giving information to enhance one's quality of life. And our first guest this afternoon is Cardon Ellis of Unipest.
Hey.
Now, hey, welcome again. What is Unipest? Pesty.
Yeah, last time I was here, we didn't talk about actually what Unipest is. We just ended up having a lot of fun going crazy, talking about all kinds of other stuff. And we are a structural pest control company, which means, yes.
What does that mean?
That means, there's two types of pest control. There's agricultural, right? Which is, like farm fields and crop dusting. And I do have that license. If I had a pilot's license, I could actually start contracting to go out and crop dust.
Oh, that would be fun.
Yeah, no, it's actually really cool. In fact, this will be maybe one of these fun rabbit holes we go down. Did you know that the #1 crop dusting airplane used in California was just re-released as a military plane? Yeah. That because it could fly at such low speeds so well and carry such heavy weights that they've actually re-released it, painted it gray, and there's a military version now, and it's like super popular with like Navy SEALs and Marine Scouts. And yeah, so anyway, there's agricultural pest control. And then there's structural pest control. People don't realize this, but 3 out of 4 vegetables in American plates come out of California. We make more peaches than Georgia does. We drill more oil than Texas does. We're literally the 7th largest economy in the world for a reason. And agriculture is a big part of that. And then there's structural, which is like where you live. If you get rats out in a farm field that are going to kill a corn crop, that's a lot different than rats in your attic in Valencia. They're going to chew through your Romex power lines or through your ADT alarm system. So yeah, we focus mostly on the structural. It's pretty fun though.
Wow, that's interesting. And what is your most common pest out here?
People whose credit cards fail without us calling, and then we gotta call them back, And I say, but amongst the
I love it. I love it.
I feel so happy when I make you laugh. You have no idea. I just want to hang out with you after and just make it happen all over again. It's just super fun. So, let me see. Our most common pest here, well, actually, it depends on the season. I can tell you right now, we're getting tons of calls for rats because it's raining. Rodents go crazy in the rain. During the summer, it's ants and scorpions, if you live in Castaic and Saugus and Canyon Country. Believe it or not, tarantulas. Black widows all year round. Mosquitoes in the summer. And then during the winter, it's kind of odd, but we'll get these warm snaps where kind of like just weird stuff happens all the time. And a lot of wildlife too, like people's attics and roofs getting infested with squirrels. There was a lady in La Cañada that had a bear living in her crawl space. That was a little bit out of our league. So we had to call the park ranger for that one.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, like there's
How did it get there? In the attic?
They leave their crawl spaces open. Look, okay. I inspected a house. One of my favorite houses is right here, only 2 blocks away on Chestnut. And people don't realize, but we have buildings here in Santa Clarita that date back to the 1880s, 1870s, 1890s. I did an inspection on a home in Placerita Canyon where it's the guest house now. But there's documentation of that house being there by that oak tree as early as the 1870s. Okay?
Gold Rush.
Oh, it's nuts. And we've got, well, the Gold Rush was the 1840s. We had our pre-gold rush in the 1830s, if you talk to the SCV history people. But like on Chestnut here, there's houses that were built in the 20s. And if you go to, I can't remember what the ranch grill, there's like 15 blank ranch grills in Santa Clarita. But one of them has photos on their wall, and you can see it. There's like a photo from like 1919 or 1920, and you can see this one house that's on Chestnut that's been there forever, you know, and I inspected that one. So it really depends on the architecture, but older homes were built with crawl spaces. And so you ask, how did the bear get in there? Well, those crawl spaces had to have manhole entrances.
Oh,
And if they're accidentally left open, the most common infestation is of rats. But dude, sometimes we have to pull out dead feral cats, possums.
Oh,
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Jiminy Christmas.
Yeah, if you ever want to moonlight, we're hiring. Like,
well, if you come and pick me up and bring me home, I'll go.
Yeah, dude, for real. So anyway, it's totally fun. Not as fun as this, but it's a pretty close second.
Wow.
But boy, this chair is super squeaky. Can you hear that?
I know it is.
Yeah, I'm digging. You know. So anyway, yeah, hit me.
All right. So since most of us are on slabs,
Yeah.
the crawl space isn't an issue for us.
Well, in the ritzy homes in the neighborhood you live in, you
Yeah.
know what I'm saying?
Oh,
Top of the hill
yeah.
in West
Yes,
Ranch,
yes,
overlooking all the others. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. So can you give us any practical DIY? So right now you say there's a rat boom. What could, besides making a call for you, what can we do to try to deal with that?
Oh, you know, I just kind of responsible home ownership. The truth is, it used to be that you kind of had to be a little bit of a dirtbag, let's be honest, to get a rodent infestation. You had to be negligent in some way or another, never picking up your dog poop, leaving that Costco 50-pound bag of dog food that you picked up on the side of your house for 3 weeks longer than you should, and they'd start eating it out from the back and you wouldn't notice it. Or else they eat a hole in the back of the shed where you kept your cat food and then didn't notice it there, and next thing you know, you've bred a population. Or psychosis was involved. I literally had a customer that was buying a 25-pound bag of peanuts every day and taking them into the backyard and literally just scattering them to, quote, feed the squirrels. But for every squirrel that was cutely fed during the day, at night, by the time the neighbors in the health department got involved, and actually the health department said they couldn't do anything because it was on private property and it was wildlife, not whatever was in their jurisdiction. But literally hundreds of rats would come at night and eat the leftovers that the squirrels didn't eat. So anyway, it used to be that you'd have odd situations like that, but they've outlawed so many of the rodenticides that have been commonplace in public recently. Just like a couple of months ago, they heavily restricted, aka outlawed, difascinone, which could even be purchased in some form or another in local consumer grade rodenticides, and like Home Depot is definitely what we used professionally for like moles, voles, gophers, so on and so forth. So we're having to switch to other products. They outlawed difethialone, which was a super popular one. In 2015, they outlawed like 7 or 8 others. So there's been such a restriction in what you can use publicly in the public sphere now that kind of like what used to get paid by tax dollars has to get done privately now. So
what about that rat cake? You know, that thing, that brick of that yellow stuff?
They're just not as effective anymore, man.
No.
Like that's the problem is now, like we noticed this was gophers, for example. We're trapping a lot more now because some of the control methods that are chemical, for lack of a better term, just aren't as strong as they used to be or as effective. So we're having to do it like old school style and trap, which is actually kind of fun. Like you feel like you're a little mini, like, I actually want to know.
Trapper John.
Like, no, seriously, it's kind of like, this is what's wild. We don't know this, but did you know
Have a
that
whole pelt?
well, yeah, squirrel fur used to be wealthy elites in Europe would wear squirrel fur stuff. And they're so common here, we just think squirrel fur, but it's actually very soft. It's super cool. And I would team up in a heartbeat with somebody that could make pelts out of squirrels. You know what I'm saying? And I would wear a whole just big cool jacket. Because, you know, if they're ethically removed because they're, you know, infesting a home, their feces can spread ringworm and other things like that. So sometimes you have to. I've been attacked by squirrels, by the way. Did you know they're super aggressive?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Never corner a squirrel.
Dude, I've literally been attacked.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it was like...
They growl like a tiger, and they will jump on you and fight you.
I have a video where I was trying to follow this squirrel and figure out where it was going, you know, because the customers thought that they had rats in their attic. But I said, I think you might have squirrels. And if it's squirrels, we can just do an exclusion and put a one-way trap door on so they go out instead of like traps inside of the attic, because you don't want to trap for non-target species, right? So anyway, I was following the squirrel with my little camera, made into the cypress tree. I was like, oh, this is cool. I wonder where it is. And so I got close to the cypress tree. It literally, you hear it just go, and then it jumps out at me, bites my phone. There's teeth marks of it like biting. And I've got, fortunately, I was filming at 60 frames per second too, because the new iPhones do that. And it was pretty cool. And you just see this thing take like 2 leaps out from underneath the foliage and jump out like, it looked like it was a horror movie, like Attack of the Killer Squirrel.
No, it's the scene from Christmas Vacation with Chevy Chase.
Exactly.
She knocks on the door and here comes the squirrel and the dog.
And those cute little paws they have, they got like razor talons on them. That's how they can run straight up a tree and not even think about it. Even when they're being friendly and nice, if they just touch you, you're bleeding. Like they have like these daggers on their fingertips.
Well, mostly when I've seen squirrels and I've walked out, they've run away.
Yeah.
And they go up the tree.
They sense your mojo.
There you go.
They're like, oh,
Barb Savage.
You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, we got a British bulldog coming, man. You know, that's funny.
All right,
But they go up in a heartbeat. They're up
Yeah.
there. I mean, they're fast. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So share some emotional stuff, because you just told us that you have no problem wearing a squirrel jacket. So,
no, I'm just thinking like, you know, reduce,
a lot
reuse,
of squirrels to make a
reduce,
jacket.
reuse, recycle, right? Well, no, I got to tell you, man.
Do you ever feel bad for the critters?
It depends. Well, so that's actually really interesting. I'm an exterminator, right?
Right.
And you know, there's the ethical questions you wonder. And people actually ask me this all the time. Like, how do you feel? And I usually tell them I'm heartless, so don't cross me. No, I'm just kidding. What you really learn is, and this is the way I balance this in my life. This is a super interesting question. We just got really deep, you know, it's odd where you think, okay, you have to end life to preserve life sometimes. And sometimes people will call me because maybe they got a really bad rat problem. And these things are cute looking. Or they got like a really bad gopher problem. These things are cute looking, right? And they think like, well, isn't there a way that you can do this like humanely or whatever? And as often as we can, we actually do. But they'll say oftentimes this key phrase that I don't think they have a full understanding of. And they say, well, I want to do it naturally, right? And I tell them, I say, okay, well, if you really want to, quote, do it naturally, first off, define naturally. That means you have to shut off your sprinklers. You have to shut off your drip system. And you can't run your air conditioning. And every single one of these creature comforts that makes your life more doable needs to go away. And you just need to open your window on a 110-degree day and deal with it, because well, you may not realize this, but that sprinkler system of yours is breeding the crickets and the crawling insects just by introducing moisture into the ecosystem. You have artificially inflated the amount of water accessible to these pest populations that survive off drops per year. Now they're all of a sudden getting drops every morning.
Yeah.
So your cricket population is going to boom, which means your black widow population is going to boom, which means it doesn't surprise me, Mrs. Williams, that your dog got bit on the nose by a black widow when it saw this massive black widow in the corner and started sniffing around. And now you just had a $2,000 vet bill because you had to get a life-saving inoculation because your dog got bit on the nose. Their noses are major blood vessels, and if you get a systemic bite in a dog, the only way to save its life sometimes is by administering very, very expensive injections. I mean, 98% of bites are just very painful and they're not life-threatening for most of these animals, but when they are, it's a very expensive endeavor. So I'll have people call me up that are very conflicted. They're like, okay, well, I mean, I'm kind of a himsa about this, you know, But at the same token, I can't have something around that's literally threatening the life of my dog. I just got back from the vet. So how can you help me? And I tell them, I say, okay, well, if you want to do it naturally, like there's plenty of eco-friendly programs we can go on. I mean, I'm not looking to crop dust your house here, right? But at the same time, you kind of have to mentally accept the fact that all you're really doing is taking the artificial inflation of what you've done to your property through your creature comforts and the byproducts of your modern lifestyle, and then taking that excess of population and then bringing it down to a normal level. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So I made the mistake of leaving some grass seed out.
Oh, that was fun.
Who knew? I know you know, but I didn't know. I didn't know grass seed was like crack for rats. Like I had this insane boom of rats, and then check this out. I was going to call you, but guess who showed up instead?
A snake?
Mr. Owl.
Oh, Mr. Owl. Yeah.
Mr. Owl came to the party, and it was goodbye rats. So that is natural.
Well, see, I'm actually a huge fan of, like, it's kind of interesting. Like, you know how surfers are super big advocates for ocean safety and health and everything? Pest control professionals, because we're so aware of how these ecosystems thrive or dive in our systems, in our communities, I'm a huge advocate for bats and owls.
Yeah.
The only tough thing with owls, though, is we did some really damaging legislation where we outlawed a lot of lumber production in Northern California. We destroyed our own lumber industry out of fear of saving a certain species of owl, only to find out a couple of years later that the owls weren't dying because of the loggers. They were dying because of a more dominant species of owl killing them. Like nature is far more furious than the logging industry is, right? Now, in relation to your rats, I'm a huge fan of owls. In fact, we spoke on the last show about the beautiful owl that used to live in the oak tree at the senior center, right? Yeah. But you do kind of need to be careful about how you in Santa Clara, you don't have to be that careful because they've got we only have a couple of these species that kind of live around here locally. But the number one cause of owl death, I was reading a book recently, and of course, everybody's got a differing opinion on this and everybody's got a different study they can cite. But one of the predominant causes of death is actually starvation. Not getting enough mice to be able to metabolize. So they have to be in an area where there's enough of a consistent population.
Like the mall.
That they like the oh geez, man, you said it, not me, dog. You know, but yeah, they have to be around enough capturable prey to be able to consistently metabolize while simultaneously not wiping it out.
So then that goes to what you were just saying about naturally, quote unquote, eliminating any kind of pest. So you're getting rid of rats, for instance, in someone's home, but in the same time, you're doing a disservice to these owls.
In
some way.
See, owls can't capture rodents that are in a structurally infested area, though. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
okay.
So like,
they prefer the wild, in other words?
Yes,
okay.
like the very, very best place. Like, see, there is no, just like in car racing, there's no replacement for displacement. If you have an engine that just has more displacement and it's bigger, it will have more power and you will lose. Just like in basketball, you can't teach height. When it comes to environmentalism, I hate that term because it's what it used to be called, I felt was more appropriate, conservation. We need to do a good job of conserving spaces where wildlife can thrive as it was designed by God to thrive. Every once in a while, there's interventions that you can do that will help out, and humankind can nudge here or there. But our ability to bring out unintended consequences is far better than our ability to shepherd. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So actually giving spaces to conserve, like wildlife bridges over freeways so that our cougars can actually roam and we could actually effectively introduce megafauna back into our ecosystem. That would be good. Giving owls a place where they can feed off of natural field mice is good. Do you know where you can collect tons of really cool owl pellets? And I see them every single time I'm there. So they've got whatever they're doing, they're balancing it right. Near COC, if you walk underneath those giant pine trees by their stadium and you walk, just hop up on their little, I don't know what you called it, retaining wall, the embankment or whatever, there are tens, if not hundreds, any given weekend of the regurgitated dried up owl pellets. Because when owls eat
Tell Barb what
do you know what an owl pellet is?
No.
Okay, cool. So owls, they swoop down and they catch a mouse and they eat it, right? And then they swallow it and their stomach does its thing. It dissolves the flesh and it metabolizes them all as nutrients and everything, right?
But not hair.
The hair and the bones can't be processed. So just like cats have hairballs and things like that, they'll find a place, usually when they're perching, and they'll just kind of, they'll just regurgitate up in this perfect little ball, the skull, the bones, everything that wasn't metabolized. And it's really cool because you can take them and like in 7th or 8th grade, we would actually dissect these little owl pellets and re-put together the skeleton of whatever rodent and try and identify it as part of our biology class. Wow. And you can collect like 30 of them over there at COC. So once we're done watching the Super 8 copy I have of your main crush, Clint Eastwood, in his debut in Tarantula in 1958, then we're going to go collect owl pellets, Barbara, over at COC. And right on the show live, we can just dissect them.
Pull them apart.
Yeah, pull them apart. Yeah.
All right.
That was a very verbose answer, man.
Any closing thoughts, Cardon from Unipest?
No, I don't have anything other than we love our senior customers and they're some of the funnest people to hang out with. And you're fun. I love being here.
It's great having you here. You're full of all kinds of stories.
Yeah, you got more than you bargained for that one, didn't you? It's like,
how do we get a hold of you at Unipest?
Oh yeah. If you got any kind of pest problems, you just want to talk, you want to chill. We give marital advice, friendship advice. You want to know what to buy your wife for Valentine's, you can just call us. No, I'm just kidding. If you have any pest problems, you can call 661-284-7575. That is 661-BUG-7575. Or you can check us out at unipest.com.
Beautiful. You've been listening to the Senior Hour, KHTS, FM 98.1 AM 1220, hometownstation.com.
Welcome back to the Senior Hour. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host, Dr. Thomas Polucki, on your hometown station, 98.1 FM, AM 1220 KHTS. And our guest now is Adam Laraway from Focus Physical Therapy. It's good to have you back again.
Hello there. Thanks for having me.
It seems like it was just yesterday.
Every month.
Every month. Okay, so what are we talking about today?
I thought maybe with all the rain and stuff like that, we might talk about some balance, because with people having to walk on the sidewalks and trying to avoid puddles and going on different surfaces and stuff like that, balance was probably pretty key so that we didn't have any injuries.
I don't go out in the rain.
You don't go out in the rain.
I wait until it gets dry because I walk with 2 walking sticks now.
Uh-huh.
I've done away
with
with
done away with the walker?
Yes.
All
yes.
right.
I'm graduating.
Okay, good.
But instead of using one, I have a neighbor across the street who uses one.
Uh-huh.
And I look at her and she wobbles a little bit.
Yep.
And I'm thinking, okay, try it with one around the house. And it didn't work.
Didn't work. Yeah.
So I got the 2.
Uh-huh.
And I'm so much more stable because I have 2 of them, you know.
Mm-hmm.
My body is more upright and it feels safer.
Okay.
So
yeah, it's safer and it's better. It's better rehabilitation to use 2 walking sticks.
I guess,
so
it is,
because if you're using them properly, it's like crawling, which Adam will back me up on this, is the best neuromuscular re-education protocol out there. Think about it. It's how we learn how to do everything is from crawling. So it's how our nerve system is hardwired to learn how to do stuff. And when you reintroduce crawling at any age, it kicks that primitive response back into the system that automatically learns how to get better.
Absolutely.
That's interesting because when you say crawling, that reminds me of my youngest grandchild, my youngest granddaughter. She's 5 months old and she's just learning now how to crawl.
For sure.
And it's my granddaughter sent me pictures of her.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because you could see her pulling her knees up.
Mm-hmm.
and trying to push herself up, but she doesn't have enough control in her hands and arms to get her up properly.
Yep.
But she's going to get there really quickly.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
it's interesting to watch.
It is, and it's interesting because like when we work with patients, say somebody who's had a stroke or some type of major injury, like I talk to them about that, you kind of have to go to those primitive, reflexes again because when we're first born, we have no head control, we have no trunk control. And so what's the first thing that a baby gets is its head control, and then it starts to get its trunk control, and then you put it on the floor and the baby can start to roll over and then get up on all fours, and you have to go through that progression to develop that strength. And when you've had an injury, sometimes you have to regress back to kind of those primitive patterns to relearn that stuff.
And you know what's interesting? When I'm sitting in the chair and I'll drop something on the floor, I can't reach down and pick it up without falling forward. So what I've learned is, okay, get down on your hands and knees. And then I can use my other chair to help myself get up after I've picked up what I've dropped.
Right.
But, when you said that the last time you were here, I thought, whoa, that's exactly what I do. I get down on my hands and my knees.
Yeah.
It's very interesting because it's more controlling. I have more control over my body.
Yeah.
Because I have actually fallen off the chair onto the floor when I've tried to pick up something.
Yeah, your weight got shifted too far forward and you didn't have enough core strength to keep yourself over your hips.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I went to a course years ago, and one of the exercises that they were teaching was literally laying on your back and rolling over to your stomach and doing it with a specific neurological pattern. But it was amazing how many people in the class couldn't do it like properly.
Interesting.
And so you had to practice because they would just use momentum, which is going to get you in trouble because if you don't have the strength and you get momentum, that's where you're going to lose control and you're going to fall. Kind of like with your analogy, what you were just saying with bending forward, you got shifted too far forward and you got too much momentum that you couldn't control and you went down to the floor.
You're right. You're right.
That's the last thing we want to do is have any type of falls and that type of stuff.
That's right, because then that dislocates all kinds of things and causes back problems, side problems, shoulder problems, and that's where the chiropractor comes in.
Yeah, but getting back to what you were talking about, Adam, with the rain, hopefully we're done.
Yeah.
I don't believe it.
Yeah.
I think there's still more out there. You expect it to be wet and slippery outside, but what you don't expect is that you walk into a place and all of a sudden your shoes do not catch the floor right because they've caught the water, they've caught the oil, they've caught a whole bunch of stuff, and you take a step on that laminate floor and all of a sudden your feet are up in the air.
That's exactly. I walk up, I have one step and then a flat area and then another step, and then I'm ready to walk open the door and walk into the house. And as soon as I get in the door, I have a tiny mat that I wipe my shoes on, and then I turn myself around and take my shoes off. And then I'm ready to walk on the carpet. And I feel a lot safer because I have caught my toe on the carpet that's there, and I've almost gone over.
Yep.
And I'm thinking, okay, you take those shoes off, and then you step right onto the carpet, and then I'll go over to my chair and put my slippers on.
Yeah. And that's why it's so important that you know that your balance is good because you need to be able to react to those things. If you hit that laminate floor and you start to slide, if you don't have the reaction time and the strength and stability to react to that slip, down you're going. And what's the first thing you're doing? You're looking for a wall or something to grab onto to try and give yourself some extra support and give your brain some extra inputs of where you are in space because you're going down.
Yeah, it's a lot different now with I'm using 2 walking sticks instead of the walker because there's not enough protection with those walking sticks, and I have to be extra careful. And that's what I'm learning is I'm actually learning how to re-walk again.
Until somebody can get in to see someone like Adam, who's going to help them learn and rehabilitate their balance. I just like to point something out, because the one thing that we're all going to experience, the one protection that we all need, is protection against falling. So prior to days, weeks, or even months of rehabilitation to make sure that's okay, there's one thing that you have to know about falling, and you need to implement it immediately. It's the only thing. You know, how to catch, how to grab, how to tuck and roll, all that stuff is complicated. But the one thing you have to do, any boxer will tell you, it's number one, tuck your chin. You got to tuck your chin, because it doesn't matter what direction you're falling in. If you tuck your chin, you're protecting your head, which is the most important thing you have to protect. Pretty much anything else is most likely not going to be immediately life-threatening. But Adam and I both have some first or second-hand experience in someone taking a header. Yeah. And it got very, very lucky that they hit it in the hardest spot of the head, because if they would have connected anywhere else, they'd be gone. But this, like horns on a sheep or a bull or whatever, this is the hardest part of the head. If you have to hit something, you want to hit there. And if you tuck your chin, you're going to protect the back of your head, which is the most likely thing that's going to hit. And if you're tucking your chin, you're kind of locking it all in. So if you do happen to hit something else, or you don't even hit your head, but you jerk your neck, if your chin is tucked, it's going to protect it the most out of any position that you have to. So you may not ever learn how to fall properly, but as long as you tuck your chin, you're going to have the least amount of worries.
Well, that's what I did, because I was looking down at the floor, you know. I'm thinking, where am I going to fall? But I was looking down at the floor, and both her hands went down too. So I was in a crawling position with my head down, which is, and it was, I think it was a normal thing for me to do. I can't imagine looking up when I'm falling down. Right. That doesn't make any sense at all.
It depends. So you were lucky and you did have the right reaction, but not everybody does. And not everybody does, you know, and it can be immediately life-threatening if you fall the wrong way.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, just having a what's called a traumatic brain injury, you know, it can affect so many different systems in your body. So it is the most important.
I don't need anything else to go wrong with me.
Yeah, exactly.
I've had enough.
But that's why
I'm ready to live.
Yeah, and that's what we do in physical therapy is we challenge those different systems. You know, if we've got kind of three systems that we use for balance with our vision, our hearing, and then our proprioceptive input. So when we're in therapy, you know, sometimes we'll put, you know, like a foam pad underneath your feet, and you know, that will you know, create an unstable surface for you to stand on, so that system has to challenge a little bit more, you know. And we may go to standing on one leg, so now all of a sudden you've only got input from one foot and maybe using a finger or a hand, and then we've got two different pivot points, and then we start taking away those systems. We have different balance boards and all kinds of stuff, so we can get pretty, you know, challenging to try and change up that balance system, but make it functional, that your body and your brain is processing and getting better.
Well, what I do is I take the walking sticks over to the sink in the kitchen and hold onto the sink and do those side pushes with my feet and my legs and backwards and, you know, that kind of thing, so that I'm getting exercise that's other than just one foot in front of the other.
Yeah. And the nice thing with the walking sticks is, you know, with two, you can replicate, you know, a reciprocal arm swing. that you can't do with the walker. With the walker, it's a fixed surface and you're pushing.
Yes.
So you get that benefit of, graduating from a walker to, to the walking stick, so that you're getting that reciprocal. And that's a movement pattern that your brain will start to incorporate. And you were exactly right what you said earlier, where you were learning to walk again. You essentially are, because you've been pushing that walker for a while.
You're absolutely right.
Which works the legs, but doesn't work the arms.
No, and it doesn't work the rest of the body.
Right. Exactly.
With the sticks, I'm using my entire body.
Right. But it sounds like you're on the right path, because you're doing the two walking sticks now, and you tried the one and you weren't ready for that.
Oh no.
Because you only
I don't think I would ever be ready for one walking stick.
Yeah.
It throws you off balance.
Well, and you're taking away one of your appendages essentially, because
one of my legs.
Yeah, because you had 4 points of contact, and then all of a sudden you only had 3, and your brain didn't know how to process that with your current strength and abilities.
Yeah, I don't see how anybody uses one stick and stands up without falling.
Well, canes are appropriate if, you have an injury on one leg. If you've got a bad ankle, if you've got a bad knee, if you've got a bad hip, you use the cane on the opposite side to stabilize. And some people don't. They put it on the same side because they haven't been trained by someone like Adam. Right. And they're just using that like as a crutch. But that causes a whole new set of problems. And then you get really one-sided problems that really mess with you. So there is a place for everything. But in your case, the 2 walking sticks is the best answer for right now.
Oh, it's life-saving.
Yeah.
Really. It's a comfortable feeling. Just like when I'm using the walker. But I don't want to use the walker the rest of my life. I want to walk.
Yeah.
And using 2 walking sticks is like using no walking sticks. You're walking normally.
I'm going to get you out on the trails.
No, let's don't go there.
No. Come on, Barb.
It's
you
bad
can do
enough
the beast.
walking uphill on the sidewalk,
Yeah.
which I've been doing, with the walking sticks. And it helps.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more...
Uphill both ways, Barb.
Yeah. Well,
in the snow,
coming
barefoot.
down, coming down with walking sticks, it's a little bit uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Walking up is fine.
Yeah. Down is always more dangerous than up.
Yeah,
because we're focusing forward and we're going into the incline. When we're focusing forward and going down on the decline, our center of balance gets weird. It's hard to navigate.
I've realized that. Yeah. So I don't go up the steep hills anymore. Yeah. I stay relatively low, but still going up.
Yeah.
And it's easier to come down when it isn't so steep.
Yeah,
okay. You're listening to the Senior Hour, KHTS, 98.1 FM, AM 1220, hometownstation.com.
Welcome back to the Senior Hour. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host, Dr. Thomas Polucki, on your hometown station, 98.1 FM, AM 1220, KHTS. And we're speaking with Adam Laraway of Focus Physical Therapy. And we're talking about balance.
Yeah, before we went to the break, we were talking about going downhill and why that's more dangerous. And that's because your muscles have to control that descent. Same thing with going down steps versus going up steps.
Right.
It's much more challenging to go down those steps because you got to control. And that's what we can work on in physical therapy, is working on that strength and that balance and that control, for sure.
Thank goodness I have things I can hold on to. My son put them in there for me on both sides.
Yep. That gives you that
extra
input.
Go up one side on one and then go down the other on the other side.
Exactly.
It makes it a lot more comfortable.
Yeah.
And a lot safer.
They definitely help, but there's other systems that you use for balance too, which another one is vision, which what happens when we get older, our eyes get worse. And so, that's important because, not only with focus, but then at dark, like, at night and stuff like that, whether you're driving or you're, getting up to go to the bathroom. And so, having night lights in your room and your house to
I have lights
illuminate,
on all over
that
the place.
vision is a big portion of your balance, and you think about if you have, sometimes in the clinic, we do exercises where we do eyes closed, and it's amazing, just standing on a foam pad and how closing your eyes and all of a sudden your what's called postural sway dramatically changes or even lose your balance. And so that's stuff that we can work
Even
on.
with one eye open and one eye closed, I've been trying to do those, and that's almost impossible to stand on one leg
Yeah.
and close one eye.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. For me, it is anyway.
Yeah.
And I would imagine it's not that easy for anybody to do it.
But it's important then when you do that type of stuff, you're challenging those systems and your brain so that they can improve, because obviously your brain wants to protect you at all costs. And so
Right.
if it realizes that there was a failure, it's going to step up its game to try and challenge it and get it better.
Well, it's really a challenge, but I'm doing it.
Yeah, for sure.
Little by little.
But it takes work. It takes repetitions to get
Oh,
that system
boy,
to
does it
fire up
ever.
and get going again.
Whoa.
And that's where people get in trouble, is that they're maybe not doing a whole lot, in their day-to-day stuff, where they're challenging those systems, and then when they need them, that's why they fall and get hurt and end up in physical therapy regardless. But then that's stuff we work on to get them back up on their feet.
Right.
Yeah,
And it works. It
does. Yep,
It works.
for sure.
Yeah, proactive is a hard sell until it's reactive, and then it's a much easier activity to get behind.
What do you,
Once again-
what do you mean by reactive?
Okay, so proactive means you're doing something preventatively to not have to worry about an injury, but most people can't be bothered with that. So reactive is all the steps that are necessary to try to get better when you're injured because you didn't do anything proactively.
I see.
So,
I see what you mean.
but
Physical therapists, and I'm sure probably chiropractors have this debate, the same thing. Like, you go to the dentist every 6 months to get your teeth cleaned. That's proactive. You just do it, even though,
Right.
you may not have a problem, but you go and do it. And I'm sure Dr. Polucki would agree. We almost need that for physical therapy and chiropractic, that we, you just come in maybe once a year, have an evaluation, and we can tell you, oh, these muscles are tight, these muscles are weak. Let's work on that. That's being proactive to get
Okay,
that
I
in
see
there.
what you mean.
Unfortunately, that's not how our healthcare insurance system wants to work.
Yeah.
They don't want to be that way. But it would really dramatically decrease costs if people
Oh,
were not
yeah.
getting injury, not having to have surgeries, not breaking bones, that type of
That's
stuff.
very true.
Adam, real quick, give us your contact information.
We're located at 25050 Peachland Avenue, Suite 205. Our phone number is 661-255-4205. And our website is www.focusptscv.com.
Thank you so much. Adam Laraway, Focus Physical Therapy. You've been listening to the Senior Hour, KHTS, FM 98.1, AM 1220, hometownstation.com, brought to you by Comfort Keepers and Providence Holy Cross. Now go out and enhance your quality of life.